I haven't flipped yet. 1.2 million viewers are waiting. Go, Michael. Good evening, and welcome to Chaska City Council meeting for Monday, December 16th, 2019. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Please stand and join me in Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to our meeting. We got a fun-filled visitor presentation tonight, so that will keep moving. Nate, we call roll, please.
Yes, Councilmember Hatfield.
Here.
Councilmember Hubbard.
Here.
Councilmember Wong.
Here.
Councilmember Grau.
Here.
And Mayor Winchell.
Here. Moves us to item 4, adopting the agenda. Are there corrections or additions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I think, do we pull this consent item off now, or do we do it later?
I don't know which consent we'll put on.
I was gonna pull off the Southwest Metro one, so we could have a little discussion on that one.
We would have to probably do it now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you want to approve the agenda, but you want to take, so that would be item, I gotta find it. So 7D, and then we want to make that
I would suggest we put it at the top.
top.
So that,
Yes.
unless he
Yeah.
wants to sit around
Yeah,
forever.
so we'll, I don't know when I can make it, because it's 8A. We'll just move that, that'll be 8A, the next one will be 8B, and the last one will be 8C. Okay? Throw me for a loop, Mike, right away tonight. All right, are there any other corrections or additions to the agenda? Are you making a motion then?
Yep, so moved.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Wong, second by Councilmember Hatfield to approve the agenda, moving item 5D to 8A and moving the other two down to B and C. Everybody still good with that? All right. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Moves us to visitor presentation. And I'm just going to follow the order that's here. The first one I have is Chaska Police Department recognizing Officer Julie Janke 2019 Rosie Griep Legacy Award.
All right,
And I don't know who's running it.
you gotta come on up. All right, so I'm going to read what the Rosie Griep Legacy Award is. So, first of all, huge congratulations to Julie. Julie's actually the president of the Minnesota Crime Prevention Association.
Oh.
And she has won awards in the past, and now she has won the Rosie Griep Legacy Award. So this is given to someone who has given a significant contribution to crime prevention efforts for at least 10 years or more. And to give you a little bit of history with Julie, she's been on our department for 21 years. She served as a patrol officer, a SRO, and she's been the one and only community partnership specialist that we've had in our entire history. So clearly nobody shows a passion more than Julie for what she does. Some of the things that she's involved in, she works not only here within the city, but she also works out amongst the community with all kinds of different groups. So like the Senior Focus Group, which involves many agencies coming together to focus on issues and concerns involving seniors. She works in putting together our Citizens Police Academy, has held numerous tours for school-age kids, scout troops, attended property management meetings, which this is a big deal, especially for rental complexes in the community. Sometimes you don't always get the best tenants in the world, and to have tools that she helps provide them to be able to not keep those people around when they aren't behaving correctly, just makes everybody's life better. She works with our CERT team, which is our Community Emergency Response Team. She coordinates the monthly meetings at 6 different senior properties. She does her safety camp, child passenger safety seat check, along with providing seats to families in need. She works at the county fair and other city events, does bike helmet safety and bike registration. She oversees our chaplain program, our Explorers and Junior Explorer program, our Paw Patrol, and does things like career day presentations, coordinates volunteers, a number of different things. The key to what Julie works on is that she's working on how do we create those relationships within the community that allow us to really get at how we prevent crimes before they begin. And I think it's vitally important that that type of position ends up being a uniform officer because it really creates that connection with the community between the police department and the rest of the community. And she is greatly deserving of this award. So give her a round of applause for Julie.
Thank you very much.
Well, before you start, because I know you're going to go through the rest, I just want to offer as well congratulations. And I've seen and interacted with you over many, many years, and you are fantastic with the public. I don't know there's anybody that we could put in there that's better than what you're doing. So I just want to offer my congratulations. It's an honor that obviously is well-deserved for everything you've done for the city of Chaska. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else, before we move forward, want to say anything or not, but.
That list was super long that Matt read, and it didn't even cover everything. So I think I obviously know how amazing you are. Like Police Explorers, she was my, what are they called?
Advisor.
When I was a police explorer and been in my life for a long time, and those words were not even enough. You're so often the face of our police department to our community, and like the mayor said, I couldn't think of someone better. You do an amazing job.
Thank you.
Yep, and I'll just also chime in too. I mean, all the work you've done over the years is just amazing. I mean, whether it's being in the schools, working with children, to meeting with homeowners and neighborhoods, and going out in the public, and just working with building those bonds with community. I mean, and Matt's spot on. It's like everything you do helps make this a better community because of the relationships that we have between the city and the people, and creating bonds between other people too. So, it's as Michaela said, it's like the list. If we were to list off everything, we'd probably be here till like midnight or something. So, but thank you for all that you've done. So this is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Very appreciated.
I got to witness firsthand your community outreach this weekend, and fresh off of surgery, standing for as long as you were, you smile on your face and just we're at it, and it was just such a wonderful event, and it was just so great to see you in action and helping out the community. So thank you.
Thank you for coming. It was a wonderful event. So, she's referring to Saturday. We did our annual Heroes and Helpers event, and we served 62 children and 19 families from the city of Chaska from our schools. So we reach out to school counselors and cultural liaisons, and that's how I get the youth. And we had officers there that shopped with the children, so they were able to get gifts for their brothers or sisters, and then get a family gift for them. So it was a huge deal, and we've already gotten messages, from the counselors, from parents that have responded and sent them emails and everything about how wonderful it was and how much appreciated it was for their holiday season to make a big difference in their family's life for Christmas. So. And Taylor came and wrapped, so it was wonderful.
I just did a small piece, but I mean, all the fundraising efforts, everything, that logistically has to be, it's a big event, and just to see it be pulled off so seamlessly, and it was just so fun and exciting. So I felt really proud to be part of Chaska and have that be a part of, the town. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I am very proud to be part of Chaska too, and as he said, I've been here, it'll be 22 years coming up in March, and I was a president of MCPA for the last 2 years, and now I'm sitting on as past president next year, so I finished my 2 years, my terms. But I did nominate for the Volunteer and Citizen Award, someone that's very important to, I think, our community. And this award shall be given to a person or persons who have demonstrated by their actions a furthering of crime prevention efforts in a given community or specific area. And I wrote, the Chaska Police Department would like to nominate Dustin and Kelly Brakemeier for the 2019 Minnesota Crime Prevention Association Volunteer Citizen Award. Dustin and Kelly have been involved with assisting our police department in various programs for the past 10 years. The Brakemeier family owns the manufactured home park in the city of Chaska. When a soccer program was started in the park in 2010, they provided an employee to assist our department with the weekly program and provided juice and water each week and have ever since. They store and maintain our soccer equipment as well. One year when asked what the department could use, Kelly and Dustin purchased 6 car seats to distribute to families in need in our community. When we started CPD Paw Patrol in Chaska, they donated the funds to start the program and purchase bandanas for our dogs and a chip reader to assist in returning dogs home to their owners. Each school year, they have distributed backpacks filled with the required supplies to the residents in Riverview Terrace in grades kindergarten to 6th grade. They partnered with us to register bicycles at the same time. Their dedication to the community is truly valued by our police department, and we would love to see them win the 2019 Minnesota Crime Prevention Association Volunteer Citizen Award. And they did. So they are here tonight. So Dustin and Kelly, come on up.
There you go. Awesome.
Proud of that.
Awesome.
So,
Out from behind the wall comes the man.
The wizard.
there you go.
I should have brought my camera.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah.
We appreciate everything he does, and we're very happy to be members of the Chaska community. It's been good, and our families, my father, Alan, has been on the park since 1975. That's a bit of time. I think Luke was probably still attorney then.
He was already in almost 10 years.
No,
Louder, he says.
yeah. Oh, you probably can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
No, you can't.
Thank you. Kelly wants to say a couple words, I'm sure.
No, she's dodging.
But truly, I can't say enough about you and your family because of your dedication to our community and to all of the programs. Every time I've, like I said, come to you with something, it's like, okay, we'll do that. We'll help out, and it's been wonderful. So.
I've been here at a lot of their projects over the years, and I've worked with them in Christmas and May for a bunch of years. So I don't even know I don't think that was even mentioned, that part, that it, because he always has. I always get a kick out of it. He always has a house that he's doing, but then by the time they're done, they're doing 2 more before the day's over. So I mean, I've seen that, they've got that heart of gold to do things, and I've heard about all the other projects through the years. So. Thank you for all that you've done for the community, and I know you do it just because you love the community, and obviously you love the residents that you have in your park. So thank you again on behalf of the city of Chaska as well. So it's awesome. I'm glad that you got that award. That's something that's well deserved. You don't always get that recognition, and I'm glad that you did that, Julie. So thank you for that. It's awesome.
Very well deserved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's also an award for a
Cookie
business.
man.
Yeah, that's what they're like, Cookie Man. So there's also an award for a business civic organization award. This award shall be given to a group organization that has assisted with crime prevention programs in a given area. And I wrote, the Chaska Police Department would like to nominate Aryzta and the plant manager, Mark Reisinger, for the MCPA Business Civic Organization Award. Aryzta is an international food business with a leadership position in frozen B2 bakery. Aryzta's customer channels consist of a mix of large retail convenience and independent retail, quick service restaurants, and other food service categories. Most importantly, the Chaska plant makes the Otis Spunkmeyer cookies. Since 2013, when Mark personally took time to attend the Chaska Police Department's Citizen Academy and learned firsthand what the police department did and was involved in, he has generously provided Otis Spunkmeyer cookies weekly to the community programs that the Community Partnership Specialist provides in the city. The programs such as Coffee with a Cop, which are held monthly at 6 senior buildings, the Lodge, Center for Active Older Adults, I get corrected if I call them seniors, and the Riverview Community Center and the youth programs, Junior Explorer and Police Explorer meetings all enjoy the cookies. The seniors love having cookies at Coffee and a Cop and look forward to coffee and cookies at their meeting, which educates them in learning about fraud, scams, and updates in our city. Mark has also provided cookies for the Senior Expo, Senior Picnic, Safety Camp, Citizen Academy, and more. The cookies that are provided for these community events also help defray costs to the department budget. Mark has also donated bikes to our annual bike sale at the Taste of Chaska. The proceeds from this sale benefits the Chaska Police Explorers and is a fundraiser for uniforms, equipment, and competitions. Chaska Police Department appreciates Mark's contributions to the community and are fortunate to have a partnership with him, which has benefited our community programs in the city of Chaska. The Chaska Police Department would love to acknowledge Mark and honor him with this award. It is well-deserved, and his generosity and donations to the community are much appreciated. And congratulations again to Mark, because he won.
Well, he's coming up here. You read a long list, but I know there's a list twice as long.
Yep.
Maybe he doesn't know about all those, so I won't name all the places that we run into their cookies, so, but that is,
And they're here
it's one
tonight.
of, they're awesome, yes, they are. But it is definitely one of those things that you wouldn't normally get recognized. So again, thank you for doing this, because I've known they've done this for a lot of years already. And it's just one of those things that just kind of still gives us that little bit of a, still one of those things that gives you that small town feel when you can have the cookies there and have that, and it's no expense to the taxpayer, so it's a nice thing to have, so.
And going through a tour up there is like going through Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Yeah, exactly. We all got to go, a bunch of us were at when they did the grand opening of their new line, so it was interesting. We got the gown up and cap up
Yeah.
and glove up and.
I think increased production by 40%.
40%.
Yep. And so how many cookies go out of there every day?
Cookies, I do pounds, so about 1.5 million pounds a week.
A week.
Cookies.
Of cookies.
That's one or two.
A lot of cookies. But no, thank you for all you do. I can't tell you how great the police department is, the fire department. Sorry, not close enough.
Just pull it up.
Sorry, the fire and the police department throughout the years have been great. So I've been at the building for 26 years now. The building's been operating for over 30 years, and they're excellent. Any kind of response, any kind of support that we need, they're there right away. So it's small little things that we can do. We're happy to help to show our appreciation. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
It's a bigger deal than you think it is. It's little to you,
Yes.
but it's pretty big for a community-wide to have what
It
you
is.
have
It's a-
and
it's a
you
big
offer
deal.
to us, so it's a
Yeah.
big thing, thank you.
Happy to help.
It's a very big deal.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Enjoy the cookies.
And here you go. Triple chocolate, so, and you brought up a little box tonight.
And
so.
before you leave, I do have a member of the audience that would like to come up and say something, so
Oh, here, this is-
you gotta stand there, I think.
oh,
I think it's about you.
And my daughter said
I
I
just
can't
need your
cry,
name and
so-
address, if you would,
Peggy
please.
Hatfield, 409 Beach Street, Chaska. I've been a resident of Chaska for 30 years, and I worked at the police department when Julie came into it 22 years ago. And we became really good friends over a misunderstanding. But as you read that off, Matt, the list that you've described that she's done, she truly has built these programs. I've watched her. I mean, I left the police department 12, 13 years ago. But as her friend and as a citizen of Chaska, I've watched her build these programs and these relationships, and it's impressed me so much as a citizen and as her friend. And with that said, you rattle all those things off. That's a really long list. the time she gives up with her family and her friends, because trying to get a dinner date with this gal is like, okay, 3 months from now. And her husband's sitting here tonight, and I'm sure he would echo that, that she gives of her personal time a lot too. So when you call to do supper with her or go to dinner with her, it's like, well, I've got Citizens Academy, or I've got this, or I've got that. So she really is dedicated to the city of Chaska, and I couldn't let this go by without echoing everything you said. So thank you, Julie, for everything you do for the city of Chaska, and thank you for recognizing her.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well deserved, though.
Thank
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wanted to say anything to any of the recipients or whatever? I'll just give that opportunity before I close out. Okay, not seeing anybody, so, all right. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and you are welcome to leave. You don't have to stay. Thank you. Have a great Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we will, while they're exiting, we will move on to Southwest Metro. That doesn't sound right. We'll go to Southwest Transit. I didn't want Metro in there. Southwest Transit,
Actually, we were gonna do,
he's presenting though.
we're still gonna do that? This,
Uh,
I thought we moved that to.
I'm not sure. It was set up before that
You want
way.
to just do it as part of the action item that we have? Okay.
Okay, that's fine then. All right. It was set up to go separately before, so I just left it that way. All right, then we'll move to item
I noticed.
6, approving previous meeting minutes. Again, if there are no corrections or additions, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve previous meeting minutes.
Motion by Councilmember Hatfield. Second. Second by Councilmember Gras to approve the previous meeting minutes. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We move on to consent agenda items. These again are items that just need approval, but not necessarily discussion, but we can on any item if need be. So with that, if there are no discussion or corrections, I would entertain a motion to approve consent.
I have a couple questions for consent.
Yep.
For item 7E, the municipal tort liability and limits renewal, how much does insurance cost us per year?
Well, we're a self-insurance plan, so we have a very high deductibles. We have a $25,000 per occurrence, $75,000 annual deductible, and we budget those each year. I don't know off the top of my head what the.
I don't want to just give a number, but we have the premium for our property liability, and then there's a separate premium for the workers' comp. Both of them are through the League of Minnesota Cities. We can get back to you with what those actual costs are.
Okay, I was just trying to get my head around the you know, like the cost per risk, right? That, you know, that sort of assessment. Because, so like the other questions kind of related were, like, do other municipalities get the excess liability coverage, and what would the cost of that be? Or is that, well, I'm guessing it's probably changes by municipality.
It does. Excess liability can sometimes be sort of a catch-22.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're statutorily protected by having a certain limit on liability. Sometimes you become more of a target, the higher excess liability that you have. And so a lot of times the League of Minnesota Cities won't necessarily recommend it. They put it out there because some cities will say it'll be more of a philosophical discussion about we want to have it in case something really bad happens, not necessarily because we're going to be liable for more, but we think we should be able to pay out more. Because the statute does protect the liability limits. It's something that I know, at least when I was doing insurance, I remember getting quotes on an annual basis with it. It's not cheap, and not many cities get it.
Okay. So the other question that's related to this is that if, like, so there's this statute which limits the liability to like 1.5 million with the insurance, with or without the insurance, presumably. But the question is that could someone come and say, well, you know, what the damage you inflicted was more than that your statutory obligation is?
Yes. You know, what would be good to have for this discussion is to actually have the league put together a summary sheet, because I don't want to misquote what protection that we do have, because there are circumstances where we've run into it before with cases where you can have a liability that exceeds that state statute, but it's on specific types of claims. And I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but what I could do is have the league put together a memo that basically talks about what does that statutory limit actually protect. You know, I can tell you that most cities, if not all, waive, they choose not to waive the statutory limit because you don't want to give up that statutory protection that's there. But, I mean, there's different types of cases that we can run into that can raise different types of issues. So I don't want to say blanket across the board that there couldn't be additional liability, but I don't want to give you a wrong answer either. So if it's okay, I could have them put together a sort of a memo summarizing what things that doesn't protect.
I think it'd be fine. I mean, I don't have any concerns about this staying on consent, because it's something we've been doing for a while, and I don't see any major issues with it, but I just want to understand it better. And the other item is item 7I, is established interfund tax increment financing. So why do we charge ourselves interest on interfund loans?
So here's what happens is typically what ends up happening is so let's say we have a tax increment district that maybe we're going out and purchasing a building. So it doesn't make sense to necessarily go out in the market to sell bonds every time we do a transaction. Typically we have some flexibility just because we have a little bit more cash flow because of our electric utility, things like that, to be able to wait and try to package these in one deal and go out just in certain times instead of going out all the time. And so basically the reason we charge ourselves interest is because we're taking dollars that we normally would have invested in the market. And so they're losing dollars by providing the upfront dollars to actually go out and do these expenses. And so in the end, we want to make sure that whatever tax increment project we're doing is covering all of its expenses, including the cost of money. And in this case, it's our money, but it's from a different fund. And so basically the intent of those dollars isn't to provide dollars for the project, it's to provide dollars for something else, and they shouldn't. It works well to do that if they're not losing money. They'd be losing money if we didn't have it invested in the market.
Okay, so that means that by using interfund loans with that interest rate, you're basically you're passing through that value that was taken out from the bonds or the other funds that were used, or at least to some degree.
Well, and theoretically what happens anyway is if you did theoretically go out and finance that right away, you'd be paying those interest charges anyway.
Exactly.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that the project is paying for itself, and the interest charges are part of the cost of that project.
Okay. Yeah, so there's no loose ends in that, and so the 5% is the assumption that you're kind of around like 3% or something like that, plus some other service charges and things.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Okay, that's all I've got.
Anyone else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve consent.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard to approve consent agenda items. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moves us on to item 8A, Southwest Transit, Mr. Len Simich. And Dave Roberts, and whoever else. I see Mr. Ripke's getting up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Len Simich. I'm CEO of Southwest Transit. Joining me this evening is one of our board members, Bob Repke, represents Chaska, along with one of our commissioners, also City Council member Wong. So what I'm doing this evening, we are kind of going out to the cities that formed Southwest Transit back in the late 80s to discuss some issues we're having really with funding, state funding that comes to our operation, which will be the centerpiece of our legislative platform in the coming year. And why we're doing this, we have been meeting with some of our area legislators, and their comment back to us is, you need to go to your cities. We need to get the cities' resolution of support. It gives us additional ammunition as we are talking to our colleagues about the plight of the suburban transit providers out there. And so that's really what we're doing this evening. I want to give a little bit of a brief history lesson because I see a lot of new faces. I'm a Chaska resident myself, and it's been well over a year since I've been here before, which I apologize for. But I want to talk a little bit about Southwest Transit because are you all familiar with Southwest Transit? Most people are from our state fair operation. But we provide a lot of different services. Our bread and butter is our express service that we provide to and from Minneapolis and the University of Minnesota 5 days a week. We also have what we call a micro transit system, which is, if you're familiar with the term dial-a-ride, that's what it used to be called. Our system is much more like an Uber and Lyft. That operates 6 days a week. And we just rolled out a new component to that, which is Prime MD, and that's a non-emergency medical. So we do provide a lot of services here in Chaska in our special events, whether it's Vikings, Gophers, went to the Chaska High School championship games, Arboretum, we're running service now for the light show and so forth. So you probably see a lot of our buses around. The major source of funding that we have now comes through the motor vehicle sales tax, which floats down through the state to the Metropolitan Council to us. And that's where some of our issues lie. We, back when Southwest Transit was first formed, it's a joint powers of 3 cities, Chaska being one of them, Eden Prairie and Chanhassen. It was formed because you were paying in on a property tax for transit, but not receiving much back in return. In fact, there was a couple of trips per day is all that Chaska was receiving, yet they were putting money into the system. So they were allowed to opt out. That changed in terms of the funding structure back in the early 2000s, where we went off the property tax, the motor vehicle sales tax. And since that time, we have seen basically going backwards in terms of the actual percentage or dollars that we're receiving for our operations. And this inequity is one of those things that we're trying to correct at the state level. So that's really what the bulk of it is. I handed out some information this evening. I just want to explain it if I can quickly. If you look at this pie chart, this will show you a little bit. It kind of captures the whole thing for you. The complete circle where you have the gray, the blue, and the red.
I can zoom in on that.
Oh, can you? Where do you want me to put this thing?
Right towards the center, let me get your.
You can move the mic over.
Technology, beautiful.
Yeah, slide that mic out of the way, Lynn.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so what I'm pointing to here, that circle there, that is all the MVEST dollars that the state collects. MVEST is motor vehicle sales tax. What you see in the blue and what you see in the red are the splits that we received here in the metro area for transit, roughly 21.5%. If you shift to the right of that first circle, that would be taking just the red and blue, and that's now 100% of the transit dollars that flow into the region. And as you can see, the suburban operators, which we're one, Minnesota Valley's another, Plymouth, Maple Grove, we shared about just under 17.5% of all those transit dollars. Shortly after this occurred, and this occurred back in 2002, by 2006, it was clear that the money that was dedicated for transit was not able to keep up with base services. So the legislature reshuffled the deck, put more money from the MVEST into transit, and that's the green that you see here, that 14.5%. Now, the 14.5% did not have an allocation attached to it. The 14.5% is at the determination of the Metropolitan Council of where those dollars go. And that has been part of the problem, because if you go to the next circle, you'll see the percentages that the suburban operators have been bringing back is far less. As I mentioned before, of the 17.5% of those dollars, Of the new 14%, we're getting just under 4%. This second graph, which I'll put here, kind of shows that better. So that 14.5% generates about $117 million. Of that $117 million, almost 113 of that goes to Metro Transit. The rest of us, we're getting under 4%. And you can see Southwest Transit, it's us in Minnesota Valley for the most part that get that small sliver. This is not allowing us to keep pace with our base needs. Now, we've been lucky enough that we have brought in additional money from other sources. So we've been able to cobble things together. So our base services have been pretty much unchanged over the years, but it does not leave us much at all for any expansion. And as we continue down this path, as we're forecasting out, as we go past this year, we're either going to have to start reducing services or bring more money in, because we can't cobble anything together again. So that's why we're out looking for some support. We want to see a better equity of the split of that motor vehicle sales tax. The other thing that doesn't really apply to motor vehicle sales tax is we were receiving a small portion of the state general fund money for transit. Southwest Transit received $500,000 of that through last June. Since then, our $500,000 has gone down to zero. The Metropolitan Council is not providing any state general fund money to any of the suburban providers after June of this past year. So that's also putting a hole in our budget as well. To compound it, one more, since we're in the giving season, one more thing that is impacting the budget. Some of you may know Chaska and Chanhassen have been receiving dial-a-ride services besides our prime through the county. The county provides, and it's a different type of service where ours acts more like an Uber and Lyft. When you're ready to go, we pick you up and take you to where you want to go. The county service is something where you can book a ride well in advance, have a standing order, so it'll come and get you every day. And they have some clients of need that really need that. It's hard for them to navigate a system like ours. Starting January 1, the Metropolitan Council has pulled the funding for that service here in Chaska and in Chanhassen. So it's putting those people onto our service. Some of them can come and navigate, but others will not. We've been up to MRCI. They have a real issue now because a number of their clients that were using that service are in a sense being left out in the cold. So we're trying to address it as well, but again, with limited budgets, you can only go so far with it. So tonight, we do have a resolution of support. The city of Chanhassen acted on this last week. We'll be going to Eden Prairie, as well as to Carver and Victoria, who are not part of the joint powers, but they do contract for services with us. So we're seeking support from all of our cities as well. So with that, Bob, do you have a couple of words? Bob was back in the early days when Southwest and all the suburban providers were being formed. So he has a lot of history here in this corner.
Mayor and council members, yeah, it goes back almost 35 years. And opting out of the Metro Transit system because we were paying in property taxes and significant dollars, and we were getting one bus a day. And so we went through the whole process, and it was a challenging process, but now Southwest Transit's in place in Minnesota Valley, and Southwest Transit is, I think you've all experienced it probably, and it's an outstanding service. It gets recognized for its quality and its innovative, creative approach to providing transit. It receives a lot of recognition and a lot of awards for how it deals with its customers and its fleet of buses, and it's just a high-quality system I think we all can be proud of. Yet, 30-some years later, it seems like the challenge of funding is not much different than it was when it was initially opted out. The challenge seems to be that a lot of support for Metro Transit, for the core cities, and kind of fleeting support for the suburban transit providers. I think there's a perception among some that this is the richest county in Minnesota, and with that comes some advantages, and somehow that means evidently that our fair share of the pie is maybe not as deserved as some other needs. The reality is we're also the fastest growing county in the state. And with that comes increased demand and increased need. And how are we to provide that service, if we're getting reduced in terms of our funding, and then how do we provide the service, what are we left to do? Cut service, cut the program, and that will be a concern to a lot of the customers, and we've hesitated to go to customers and talk to them about that. But what really seems important at this point, as we try to convince people, try to talk to people, and we're supporters of regional transit planning and a regional transit system as a whole. I mean, we want to be part of that. We recognize that's important to do. But we're here asking for your support or reinforcement of what you've supported for, what Chaska supported over all the years. And I think the advocacy you can play as you travel around, as you talk to Met Council members, as you interact with people down in St. Paul, our legislative representatives, I think hearing from you as elected officials can have an impact. And we're just, I think, with the resolution asking, trying to, reinforce the importance of this, the concern about this. I mean, transit's pretty important to future development of a community, economic development of a community. And I know we all have a priority for it, but as you have the opportunity to interact with elected officials, if you have the opportunity to interact with Met Council appointed officials, I think, that together we're all a voice in sharing the concern and advocating for our fair share of the pie. So, thank you.
Awesome, thanks. Well, that's all we have for you. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
One real quick thing, you can't just collect it through fare box. I mean, you guys are limited on the amount of dollars you can charge per ride?
That is correct. The fare box accounts for about 28% of all of our costs. The rest is subsidized, which is very typical in not only in transit operations, but highways, schools. I mean, it's part of what government does to make everything work better.
But you guys are actually limited too.
We are limited. We have to follow the regional fare policy set by the Metropolitan Council. And last year there was a story done that did a little bit of discredit, I think, to the suburban providers because they're talking about cost comparisons, cost effectiveness. Well, when you have some of the longest routes in the whole Twin Cities area, which we do, when you're taking a bus from Chaska to downtown Minneapolis, it's different than taking it from Roseville to downtown Minneapolis, yet the fare is the same. And how often you can turn that bus, turn the seats like a restaurant would, it's limited. And when the fares are set for us, there's only so much you can make off that. So it does put us at a little bit of a disadvantage. The question came up last year during a hearing that I testified in. And the question really is, do you believe that transit should be offered in the suburbs? And I can tell you, it doesn't matter which party you're at, every head nodded yes, because they see the benefits, whether it's a social benefit to people that have no other way, whether it's a congestion mitigation. We travel on the most congested corridors during the times of the most congestion out there. So if you ever looked at things like congestion pricing, we do extremely well. So everybody believes we can do it. So then I say, well, who can do it cheaper? I mean, when you start looking at, we use a private operator that provides us the drivers. We pay a very competitive wage, but it is far less than what Metro Transit provides. The number of mechanics per buses, and you can go right down the list. There's nobody out there that could provide it more cost effective than what we do. So the question really is, and Bob kind of alluded to it, do you believe transit should be here? And if you do, what we're doing is very cost effective. And by not being able to price it differently, and I'm not saying we would, but not being able to, puts us at that disadvantage. And that came to play during the state fair, where we had been charging $8 round trip, $4 each way. Best bargain, you can't even get a corn dog for that price at the state fair. Yet, they came in and forced us to cut our rate from 8 to 6. So what was a break-even proposition for 2 years, now we had to subsidize a special event. And when you don't have a lot of money to do your base services and you're subsidizing special events, I have a problem with that. My board has a problem with that.
So Met Council came in and said to reduce it?
Right, there's a federal law, but the interpretation of the federal law, well, it was gray to them. To me, it was pretty much black and white. It's set up to protect a private operator where the public is not going to come in and undercut a private operator. This was just the opposite. We were charging what the cost to do the service was. So we were not using taxpayer money to provide a special event. They, because Metro Transit was only charging $6, and they set the fare, Met Council does, we had to back our fare down to what Metro Transit was charging. Even though the operation's different. Metro Transit runs, as everybody else down there, on a fixed schedule. We run it like our prime, and that's how we based our pricing. So we load and go. So if there's a lot of people, you may be out of there as fast as it takes to load a bus. You're not waiting 15 to 30 minutes. You don't see long lines, maybe to board to go down, but coming back, you're out of there. You're not standing in the hot sun, you're not standing in the rain. People love it. And more than that, our gate moves more people than any other gate down there. We did 117,000 rides last year, which was an increase from the year before, which was an increase from the year before. So it continues to grow to the point where we're wondering, hey, we're running out of parking and buses. But nonetheless, people are very satisfied and we're willing to pay that $8.
What did I know you guys charged a vehicle fee.
We did.
Did that help recoup?
It did. At the end of the day, we still lost close to $30,000. Without that $2 parking, it would have been worse. Yeah.
Oh, so I was unable to go, so you charge a $2 fee to park there then, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, per vehicle.
You still would lose because obviously people would carpool.
Right.
Walk.
And you just couldn't get it on each ticket. You got it on, and most people are coming in 2 to 4 to a car. So you're recapturing $2 versus getting your 4 to 8.
No. So I was just sitting here thinking, isn't there a way that you could do something to recover that $2, but.
We have a few things that are in play right now, working through the federal system, that I do believe that we will be able to address that going into next year. The problem this year, it was sprung on us too late.
Right.
We had no time to react, but now we have a little more time.
I knew it was late.
Yes.
When they came out on that, so.
I had a couple questions. Why did the Met Council take away the $500,000 in funding?
Well, last year during the session, they put forward a budget for general fund, and the budget only included enough money to move Metro Mobility, in a sense, into a separate category. And the general fund is the mechanism that allowed them to do it. They did not include our costs. None of our cost or Minnesota Valley's or anybody else. So talking to legislators, they're as surprised as anybody else. They're saying, oh wait, we had a lights on bill. Everybody got funded to what they needed. Maybe not what they asked for, but what they needed. They were as surprised as we were to find out that those dollars were being cut. So it was simply not asking for it.
Lynn, for the benefit of my colleagues up here, you talked a little bit about these graphs up here, and then the red, could you talk a little bit more about the fact that the red isn't just us? This is also split between other providers too.
Correct. We are actually the second largest of the suburban providers, the largest being Minnesota Valley, which has 7 cities. We have three official, as I mentioned, Chaska, Chanhassen, and Eden Prairie. Victoria and Carver, they contract for services. They pay their own way. So there's none of our dollars, our tax money or MVEST money goes for those operations. Those operations are funded strictly through the city. In Carver's case, they have an outside grant that helps underwrite about 80% of that. Victoria, who only has our Prime and Prime MD, they're funding that. The customer will pay the fare box, but the city pays the rest of that themselves. So that 17.5%, yes, that is collective Minnesota Valley, Southwest Transit, Plymouth, and Maple Grove. So we're talking 12 cities.
So those are the 4 opt-out bus services, though?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. I thought that's all it was, but I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah, and that legislation was sunset, so there really is not going to be any additional suburban providers unless the legislation is reopened. It was reopened once back when we came off property tax. Minnetonka was able to come in. They have opt-out status, but they have never exercised it.
So I assume that more can't be created, as you just indicated. But is there any power in merging? I mean, is that ever looked at with Minnesota Valley and other bigger? I'm guessing they're having, I mean, looking at their numbers, they got the same problem you guys have, right? So I'm sure they're doing the same type of thing. They just have more cities to go meet with. But, I mean, is that allowed, or is that also kind of restricted and kind of tough to do, I guess?
No, it's not restricted. In fact, it was encouraged by the legislative auditor when they did an audit back, I don't know, about 5 years ago. There's some pros and cons, as you can imagine. It happened here on the dial-a-ride system between Carver and Scott County, merged. There was some economies delivered there by combining those two. But there's always, many times, not always, but many times there's winners and losers. And that's one of the things you always are fearful of. What are we giving up? Southwest has been probably the most financially solvent of all the suburban providers, because outside of transit, we also have done some work in real estate in terms of developing properties, selling properties, things of that nature, which has helped us remain stable when times that the MVES has either gone flat or gone negative, which happened 2007, 2008, were not only bad in the real estate world, but it was bad across the board. We did not have to cut or reduce any services because we were able to pull dollars from other resources. So that's one of those things you're always concerned about is, all right, if we merge, do we lose some of that flexibility?
I just wanted to reinforce the frustration that comes, we talk about, the concern over our fair share of the funding to support the system, and what are we going to do? Cut services and we'll disappoint customers. But I think it's decisions like they made with their transit link service and telling us that that's a duplicate with duplicate service with Southwest Prime. And it's not. It's not a duplicate service, yet they declared that. There was no discussion of that. There was no negotiation of that. And a number of the customers, a number of the users of that service were the handicapped, were the disabled population out at MRCI that are very dependent on a stable service like that and meeting their needs. And so to declare that, well, that's a duplicate with a service you're providing already, well, it's not. And so you've just withdrawn that, and now we're left to figure out, well, what can they do and to meet that needs? And so there's significant frustrations from parents and individuals, and so I think that just compounds the concern. So there's funding and dollars, but it's that relationship, that recognizing that we're part of the regional planning system, the regional transit system, and we believe that, we want to be part of it. We recognize that that's important to have that regional planning, but I'm not sure we feel recognized as part of that regional planning when you can make independent decisions like that without any kind of discussion on a population that is, very dependent on that stability, without any kind of discussion or negotiations. So I just wanted to, I know Mayor and I'm sure others of you have been out at MRCI you understand the needs, the population, and sensitive to that. But, you know, that is, just adds to the frustration level, so.
Is there I'm not real familiar with the SmartLink now. You said that was county operated?
Yes, the two counties. So Scott and Carver merged back.
So that was that was the merger, SmartLink?
Right.
So are we the only opt-out that's affected by this then? So then there was nothing that happened to the other three systems?
As of right now, we are the only one. However, and I know you sit on tab, Mayor, there is a study that I think you'll be discussing tomorrow that kind of starts leading into this. And they're looking at where, as they refer to it, duplications exist. And probably will start pulling back in some of the other areas as well. But right now, we are the only ones affected.
So they have a similar type of a system then currently?
Yes and no. Plymouth and Maple Grove both have a dial-a-ride system, and they're trying to migrate more towards like our Prime. Minnesota Valley has a very limited one. I think it serves 1 or 2 cities. So it's a little different. You know, ours encompasses not only our 2 cities, or 3 cities, but the 2 that contract. So it's a little different than theirs.
So was Southwest kind of handed that because of the Prime and the MD service that you're gonna start offering?
Correct. They looked, the council looked at it as a duplication to what they had. And when you looked at the cost effectiveness, our Prime, in terms of a subsidy, is about $8. In that world of dial-a-rides and so forth, the average is closer to 20. So it's very cost effective. So they're saying, let's push it your way. Well, and that's fine, but again, transit is not a break-even proposition. So by pushing it our way means more cost to us. Without the dollars, it's hard for us to support that.
So when you talk about having to cut services, I mean, I know you don't want to, but you're gonna have to cut services. So what if you cut those services and say, we can't afford to do that? Would it come back? That SmartLink? I mean.
That's a good question. I can't, right now, no, because they're cutting their budgets so that they can balance as well. So for them to bring it back means they're gonna have to cut somewhere else. Right now, if you look at the Metropolitan Council, Metro Transit, their focus is in 2 areas, light rail and BRT. That's really all they are doing and promoting and pushing. And they're coming at a big expense. You know, this last week, I don't know if you caught the paper, there's cost overruns because of some delays that they're experiencing. So it's going to cost them another $21 million. And it kind of went just by the wayside. Yeah, another $21 million. That's almost 3 years of MVEST operating funds for us. Yet that's just because of some delays. And when you start comparing cost, and I'm not anti-light rail, like Bob says, we do work very well with Metro Transit. We support regional transit in general. But when they always want to compare the cost of light rail versus a bus operation like ours, the piece they always leave out is the capital. You know, once that rail is there, it is fairly efficient to operate. You have one, driver that can handle about the same number of like 5 buses. And it's electric, it's not diesel, so it is cost effective, but you got to get there. $2 billion, boy, could we do a lot with $2 billion. So it's just not an apples to apples comparison, but that's the comparison they want to make.
But so the SmartLink services still exist if you're going from, say, Carver to Scott County or Carver to Hennepin County. What they've cut is really just the things that are within our service territory. Getting back to the point of saying, well, if you're already providing that, then we don't need to.
I think the key other point here is that they're not equivalent services, and we actually look at it really closely. It's, this is where Met Council has looked at it and said, from a map, they think they perceive it as equivalent services, but the service levels provided are much more expensive to operate because they require a lot more hand-holding, and even things like the standing orders for buses. You could have a standing order with a dial-a-ride, which means that come pick me up every day at 5 p.m., right? The problem is that because of no-shows and things like that, now you basically put a bus out onto a location,
no one shows. Now you just wasted all the time and fuel that bus could have served somebody else. You know, things like that aren't built into our model right now, which is why it's untenable to switch. And that's, you know, that's why it's become this unfortunate circumstance that we have to deal with right now.
And those services can take a lot longer to provide too. I mean, there's literally hand holding that goes along with it to be able to help people who need more assistance in those rides, and so it's a lot more labor intensive type of a ride.
Well, like, and maybe to close this out, I think you know how I feel about the bus service. I push it where I can and as much as I can, and I know that it's a huge benefit to the city of Chaska. And, you know, we're certainly, I have absolutely no problem with the resolution, and we're gonna continue to battle with you as much as we can. And I hope that you feel that you can always come to us if you need something, because I feel that we've been as supportive as we possibly can to help this out without throwing money at it, which we don't have to throw out there either. I wish we did, you know, but, so.
I do appreciate that. And yes, and that's one of the things, we are very lucky, because our cities are very supportive. And part of it is, and why I'm out here, is we've tried to handle these problems internally for a long time, but it's getting to the point now we have to go out and get more people involved to have some result here, because what we've been doing hasn't really been working.
Yeah, I think it's just important to know and kind of learn for myself as well, is that I think understanding, as you said, is that transit isn't a money-making business in general, right? I mean, it's a service. It's a much-needed service, right? I think in general, there's probably a general observation, like State Fair, for example. You know, you lost money. I bet if you ask the average person, they're like, well, no, they're making tons of money, right? You see how many buses are coming out of there and all the people that go there, and they just make that assumption that they must be making money, you know, that type of thing. And so I think it's really understanding that this doesn't happen if it's not funded, right? It's a service. It's not meant to be profitable, and you can't even try to be profitable because the fares are set and all that type of stuff. So I think, like I said, it's important for people to understand that you see the buses everywhere and you kind of just take it for granted. You think, well, it's just like a business. They're just making money. It's like, well, it's a service. It's not really what that's meant for to do, and it can't to some degree, so.
As a youth, I went to a Catholic school in Chanhassen, and I lived within the radius that, you know, they didn't provide the busing because we bused through, like, I think it was Eden Prairie at the time. So I lived along 101. They didn't have a sidewalk, and it wasn't conducive, obviously, to walk to school. I'd have to walk around Lake Lotus or walk through it or whatever. So we ended up contracting with Dial-A-Ride, and I was a Dial-A-Ride rider for a year with some other St. Hubert students, and I had the punch cards, the morning one and the afternoon one, and it was a really invaluable service for someone like me. I was like in 6th or 7th grade, so I was young, and there were others, you know, in that grade level or a little younger. To have that service provided to be able to be bused when your parents can't drive you to school. So I look at that, like you had said about people, you know, we didn't necessarily have special needs, but we had a need to get to school, and that was provided by your company. So I'm in full support of this resolution because it is a valuable service needed in the metro area, so.
Thank you.
Or in the suburb.
I agree, and I want to thank too for you for coming, and Councilmember Wong and Mr. Repke for just like bringing this to light, because there's so much to know in this role. That's one thing I've learned in this 12 months. It's like there's no possible way to just know everything, so thank you for bringing it to our attention, because I probably would have had no idea, so.
I think the last thing I would say to you is just to anyone, the 1.2 million voters, or voters, well, they're voters, viewers too, to talk to your local congressmen, write letters, call them, you know, that's important. That matters, right?
It
Resolutions like this matter and they're important, but people reaching out, people who are affected or know someone affected, reaching out, calling, letters, emailing, make sure you're being heard and understand what this means and how important it is.
Right. No, it is extremely important.
I mean, we know that something's gonna happen, but right now, nobody knows what's happened, so it could, the people you least expect, it could be happening to them.
Yeah.
And
And
so-
we're trying, not to go on an attack of the Met Council, okay? There's a need out there, they have needs, we have needs, but our needs have been pushed down to the point where we have to start bringing this to light, or it's gonna be too late. And so that's really why we're coming out now, and as Bob said, we've been reluctant to get the rider involved, but the rider also needs to get involved because they can they can touch their legislators as well, council members, and let them know how needed and important the service is, like you just mentioned, so.
Yeah, and that's the point I just wanted to add to, is that some may identify this as us coming to you as trying to make this some kind of battle. I mean, some kind of, why you're stirring the pot and creating, problems here and some kind of fight. Use different words to describe that, but that's not. This is just trying to explain and make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what is the lay of the land and the challenges we're having when it comes to funding and what it might mean to the service that's, is provided today. It's not about trying to rally up for a battle. It's trying to get us all on the same page of understanding and the concerns and what can we do to address them effectively together, so.
Any other questions for Len, Bob, or anyone? Doesn't look like it, so.
Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you for coming.
for the
That's greatly
opportunity.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Did you have something, Luke?
No, I thought you were gonna let him go without passing a resolution.
Oh, no, that's our next thing, no. It's gonna pass, I'm not too worried about that. But. So with that, then we'll go ahead and move to, I gotta go back and find that resolution, so
I
it
have
would
it here.
be,
This is the 2019-128. It's the new 8A.
yeah, I know, but so 2019, oh yeah, there it is, 128, yep. So, with that, I would look for a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-128, a letter of support for Southwest Transit.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember McGrath to adopt the resolution. Discussion. I think we pretty well hammered discussion out. So with that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. You have your letter.
Mayor?
Thank you, gentlemen. Yes.
Do have one thing, I think.
Hold on,
that-
guys. Luke's got something.
Yeah, I just think if you are a resident of the city of Chaska and you are the head of Southwest Transit, I think there should be a resolution that he cannot resign or retire without approval of the Chaska Council.
Watch Len, he'll be out the door in no time now.
I think Glen's done a super job.
What's that?
Glenn has done an unbelievable job.
I know he's done a tremendous job. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you. I'm not going anywhere yet.
Such nasty threats.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. With that, we go to 8B, adopt resolution 2019-131, adoption of the 2020 tax levy and general enterprise fund budget.
Mayor and council member, I know you guys want me to go through the entire presentation again, so I have
was figuring the 2.5 hour
3-hour
version.
version of the,
Get out of here at midnight.
yeah. As you know, we have been having discussion over the last several months about the proposed 2020 tax levy, as well as our general fund budget. We did set our preliminary levy back in the last meeting, September 30th of this past year. Had our truth and taxation hearing at the last meeting. And the last step on it is to actually adopt the tax levy for next year and to also adopt the budget itself. As we've discussed, the actual tax levy itself, let me get the exact number here.
Are you looking for the 15 million?
Yeah, I have the exact number in here. So the 2020 expenditure budget would be $19,009,708. The tax levy, like we talked about, is the, sorry.
You need a little more paper over there.
Yeah, I know. is the $10,516,132. That's actually inclusive of our general fund, our Mount Pleasant Cemetery, our EDA and tax abatement, and our general fund also includes our equipment acquisition fund. So those are the pieces of equipment that are supported through the actual general fund tax levy. I will point out that we do have to approve the EDA levy separate in the EDA meeting. But the reason I put the total amount there is when we look at the tax impact each year to the average taxpayer, we don't just look at just the general fund, but we look at every fund together that's supported by tax levy. And as we've talked about throughout the course of the budgeting process, the average or the impact to the median value home in Chaska would be $70 for the year. And that's going to depend on what somebody's actual valuation has been, but it still will keep us in the top 6 lowest property tax levies per capita in the entire metro area. So with that, the big thing is we would start implementing the first phase of our staffing study recommendations this year. And that'll be the major focus will be on our building maintenance department and really getting that up and going. So that's something that we're already gearing up to go out and get going so we can do that as soon as possible to the beginning of the year. And I certainly would entertain any questions that you have.
Just something I want to throw out there, because that was some confusion in the school board, that this is $70 a year or $5.84 a month.
A month, yep.
So I just want people to be very clear on that,
Yes.
because there was definitely confusion about the school board, whether it was $50 a year or $50 a month.
Yeah, no, this is
Or
about
34, or whatever the
Yeah,
number.
this is about $5 a month
Yep,
increase, $70 for the entire year.
Yep.
Yep,
And
no,
also-
I guess that was just something I wanted.
And I know you stated it, but I just wanted to make sure just to reiterate it again, because I know that this is also a little bit confusing for people sometimes. That $70 is based on the median home value.
Yep.
So if your home costs, let's say $150,000, which is about half the median home value in Chaska, then it'd be about $35.
Yep.
Right.
And it all depends on how much it's actually gone up. I mean, one thing that I've talked a little bit about during this whole process is our tax rate is actually going down. And so that means that we've had more growth in valuation or tax capacity in the community than we are actually seeing in our actual revenue tax increase. And so so it goes down by 1.59%. So if somebody's home theoretically stayed exactly the same value, they'd actually see a 1.59% decrease in their taxes for next year. I don't know if anybody saw the article that the Star Tribune always does a story right before budget time at the end of the year. They did one this Saturday? Sunday. And Chaska's was one of the lowest increases in the entire metro area. Now, they look at it overall. They look at overall taxing jurisdictions, but it was one of the lowest in the Twin Cities. I think it was $4. Yeah, $4 was the increase overall for people.
But I think the most important part is that, I think that none of us take it lightly that that we having to put this levy out there, that this is something that's really needed to, maintain facilities that are aging, that are in need of repair, that, there's dangerous in some cases, or, hazardous because of like leaky roofs or rusty doorways, things like that.
Well, and I think it's important, like we've talked about before, is this is sort of a first step is to have people who can actually do it, but we're also going to have the capital needs that are coming up to actually put back into the facilities too. So we just want to make sure that when we do that we actually have a system in place that can take care of them once we actually reinvest back into them.
Yeah.
And to get the right people in place to say what needs to be done and start creating a budget so that we can start putting these things forward as we move forward, because right now we're doing our best guess at best
Well, and
guess.
also, I've learned through enough building projects that the best people to make a determination on how a building should end up in the end is the people who have to maintain it.
Right.
Because you end up sometimes making some decisions that end up being really expensive in the long run if you're not paying attention to who has to maintain these things.
Okay. Are there further questions? Again, I'm gonna tell anyone that's listening that it seems like we're skimming over this. We've been through this for now we're going on months. And, we just had our truth and taxation, and we didn't have anyone here at that meeting, so, either we're doing a really, really good job of getting all the information out, or people are satisfied in what's happening at this point, so, but it's just not something we're just throwing it out there and we're gonna approve it without thinking, but we have looked at this many times, so. With that, if there are no more, anything else to discuss, I'm just gonna throw it out there, then we would be up for entertaining a motion to adopt resolution 2019-131.
Real quick, I will mention too that it's also approving the budgets for all of our enterprise funds too, which we've been over before. The next item we take is to actually set the rates. That work with the budget that we're actually adopting here for each of the enterprise funds.
And that's part of the, I didn't read the whole motion again, but it's so I'd be looking for a motion of adopting resolution 2019-131, adoption of the 2020 tax levy and general enterprise fund budgets.
So moved.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Hatfield,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard to, again, adopt resolution 2019-131, which is tax levy and enterprise fund budgets. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moves us on to resolution 2019-129 and 2019-130, ordinances 973, 974, 975, establishes 2020 utility fund rates.
Mayor and council members, so these are the rates that would be needed to meet the revenue projections in our budget. So just real quickly, our electric fund, we would see our rates going up by 3.5%. Water utility would be up by 6.2%. The sewer would be up by 7.9%, and the stormwater would be up by 3.6%. So the overall increase per month to the average user in the community would be $7.70, or 4.8% overall increase with the rates that they're established as that. With that, staff is recommending that we adopt these ordinances to establish these rates.
It's one question. Did we have an EV rate chart at some point? Because I remember that there was some discussion about that.
Yeah. Electric vehicle, I know they've done some testing on it.
They've done some testing. It's not included in this. That is anticipated to come back as a separate amendment to the ordinances when they're ready to establish it.
So there is currently no EV rate.
No, we do have an on-off peak rate, and it's going to be similar to that.
Okay.
Yes, most people are doing that now, are using off-peak type stuff and doing their charging at night.
Yep.
But we'd set it up as an official EV rate.
Okay. That's, that'll be at a later date.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone else? And again, I just want to, these are all part of the same discussion, so we've been through these a ton and had good discussion. All of these are on our website, correct, guys?
Yeah, so basically
I
what
do wanna
we'll
touch on
follow
that.
up with is we'll have my whole budget administrator's message in there, which hopefully puts things in context better than just numbers, to sort of talk about why, the whys behind it, and some of the big things that we're focusing on this year. In addition to that, Kevin will be putting out the PowerPoint presentations that I did for both the truth and taxation, but also then the recreation funds and the utility funds too. I think he's planning on doing that tomorrow.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone that wants to see any of this will be on our website, and our communications, Kevin Wright will be putting presentations out as well, so.
And it's on our webpage right now under the agenda too, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right, it would be under there, so. So please feel free to look at it, but unfortunately, if you got anything you want to change, we're a little late now, but this happens, all of this year to year, starts happening in September, probably even August.
End of July.
Yeah, okay, like I said, August. And, but anyways, so please, if you have questions or you're not clear about something, follow our meetings, follow our website, follow the agendas, and all of that information's out there for everyone to see, so. And I know our meetings are all taped and they go out on YouTube, so you're welcome to watch there, and all the presentations are there, so. Plenty of opportunities. All right, again, with that, I would be, now, do we have to do all these, can I do this all in one, or we gotta do all these ordinances separate?
Well, I think we should do them separate. Somebody may have some questions, want to vote
Question
them
on
all
an
in
individual
one.
one. Okay, so I'm just gonna start off, I'm gonna look for adopting resolution 2019-129. And then, so 130 would be different as well then, huh? I'm not sure what 129,
129 is stormwater.
Stormwater.
stormwater? Okay, so we're gonna start with what, resolution 219-129, that's stormwater. So I'd entertain a motion.
I will,
Motion
so
by
moved.
Councilmember Wong, second by
Second.
Councilmember Hatfield, adopting resolution 2019-129, which is stormwater. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Next, we'll move to 2019-130,
Electric franchise fee rate.
electric franchise rate.
I so moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hubbard,
Second.
second by Councilmember McGraw, 2019-130, which is our electric franchise fee. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we move to ordinance 973.
So moved.
Electric utility
Electric
rates.
utility rates.
Electric, that's electric rates. So I have a motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember McGraw, adopting ordinance 973, which is the electric utility rate. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 974.
Water utility rates.
I'd entertain a motion for 974, which is water utility rates.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hubbard,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hatfield. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And now 975,
Sewer utility rates.
sewer utility rates. Again, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hatfield, second by Councilmember Wong to adopt 975, which is sewer utility rates. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Is that all of them?
Yes.
You'll be saying that in your sleep.
What was that?
I said you'll be saying that whole thing in your sleep.
Yeah, I know. All right. I made a huge mistake in the beginning, and I am backing up because there's a gentleman here that I did not offer visitor presentation. And rather than let him sit here any longer, I'm going to ask him to come up under visitor presentation at this point. I am sorry. I usually do that. I don't know. I just, and I saw you sitting there. I thought, oh boy, there's something.
Well, thank you for coming over. So let me introduce myself. My name is Kendall Qualls. My address is 755 Lillian Trail in Medina, Minnesota. First of all, I'm actually glad that you waited this long. I got a chance to not only see the cookie night, but also to really hear the issues related to Southwest Transit. So I'm here to introduce myself for U.S. Congressman on the Republican ticket. I'm going to be running in the November election. Right now, I'm running unopposed on the Republican ticket to win the seat here in the 3rd District. So no political statements here. I just want to give you an idea of who I am. So if I'm honored to serve in this district, you know, that you get the face to the name, and for issues related to federal funding, transportation, other federal-related issues, you would have a face to a name and be honored to work with you on that. I'll leave a few of my cards. Let me give you a bit of my background. This is my first time running as an elected official for our country, but it's not the first time serving our country. I served in the Army for 5 years. As an artillery officer here in the U.S. as well as on the border between North and South Korea. served there for a year. After that, I been in the healthcare industry for 30 years. Half of that time with Johnson & Johnson, global business director, and the other half on the med tech side, most recently with Medtronic, again as a global marketing director, responsible for $800 million business. Real quick, on the personal side, my wife couldn't be here tonight. She's recovering from the flu. But we've been married for almost 34 years. We have 5 kids. 4 of them now kind of flown out of the house. We got 1 that's married. And people ask me, well, why now, Kendall? Why do you get involved in politics now? I said, well, I have 2 things. Actually 3. Number 1, I love our country. And the way the direction it's going, I feel compelled to do something about it. Number 2 is now with 4 kids gone, 3 boys, first time we've had in a long time with leftovers. So we haven't had leftovers in a while, ever, I don't think. And then the last time we have more time on our hands. And with that, I feel compelled to serve. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my background with you. I have some cards here to share with you, my website information, but in more than anything, it was just an introduction. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. I need help. Who is the current 3rd district?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
I mean, it helps me, otherwise I'm gonna go idle.
Sure. It's Dean Phillips is the current.
Okay.
Current representative. With that said, it used to be Eric Paulson for 10 years.
Yep.
I'll have the endorsement of Eric Paulson. We've already got the endorsement, but we're going to wait until January to announce it. As well as former Senator Rudy Boskowitz. He's supporting the campaign. Tom Emmer, who's up in the 6th district. But a lot of momentum behind what we're doing here. And again, first time involved in politics, not the first time serving our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in, and I'm sorry I missed that. But we got you in anyways, and
well, I do know where to come to if I want to get some cookies, and it's a great service.
You want one?
Cookies back there.
We got a lot. I've been having to sit here
Hey,
and
I'm
smell
getting ready to go on
them.
the campaign trail.
You're going to need the energy, believe me.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, I always tell now after being where I am, even though I am at this level, I just always thank anyone that puts themselves out to go out and to go out in a campaign, and there's always going to be somebody looking for something, and you got to go through those issues. So thank you for doing that, and good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, is there anyone else that I missed under visitor presentation? Did you get a good picture? Because I don't know, you were at an angle. You're more than welcome to any time you need a picture to come. Is it good?
I do. Just stay right there. If I can just face her, is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're going to keep moving, though.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move to item 9, which is our bills. So with that, I will open it up. If anyone's got a question on a bill.
Sorry, guys.
We just expect you. I know them, and then I'm like, okay, I'll see if he asks this one, he asks this one.
I'll just start with an apology. Okay, first question, page 2. This is for the Aqualogic Incorporated item. This is for, let's say, leisure pool filter sand. I know that there's different types of pool filters. I was kind of wondering which one is using a sand filter, and why is this called a leisure pool?
The leisure pool is the.
Could be the kiddie pool.
It's the kiddie pool.
Kiddie
It's-
pool
It's
at
a
the
small,
community
it's a
center.
small one at the
one.
community center.
That's the real shallow one.
It's where the Caterpillar is.
Oh, it's the zero depth one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And so that one uses a sand filter. Okay. Okay. Second one, page 4 on Blackstone Contractors. This is the Veterans Park improvement. What was that? I thought we finished Veterans Park last year.
Yeah, typically what ends up happening is on,
Don't we hold some percentage?
yeah, we hold a percentage of a project, especially on landscape.
Escrow or something.
Well, on landscaping, typically until it's actually all, so we see it's been established. So typically it's the withholding until we actually make sure that everything is working okay.
Okay.
I kind of had that, I had that as a question, but then in the same sense, I figured.
Yeah, I had that as a
a
question too. Is that, so it's like landscaping? I guess
It can
it's,
be landscaping, it can really be any component of the
okay.
project.
I
We
just know what
typically-
Blackstone, Blackstone, I guess maybe is like more.
But that's just the
cement?
name of the company.
Yeah,
I
they're
know.
the general contractor, but typically we hold 10% of a project until we have some kind of final punch list to go through and make sure that's okay.
So it's kind of like a warranty, basically.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
kind of like if something goes, you got
Yeah.
cracks or
Yeah.
unevenness or whatever.
It's really hard to get somebody back once they have
Yeah,
it.
once they got their money.
Yeah. Okay,
But we build that into contracts to tell them that's what to expect.
good, good.
And that's, we're not
unique.
No, we're not unique in that.
No.
Okay, so page 4, again, this one's for Cargill, it's the road salt. I was kind of wondering how long does that quantity of salt last?
How much
Depends
is
on
it
the year.
snows?
Well, I mean,
Has
so,
it been
or how
going
many,
well
or I guess
with
how many snowfalls or sort of thing, you know, I guess.
Enclosure?
Well, this is our first year of using the
Yeah.
enclosure, and so this will be, you know, we have it large enough to be able to hold the quantity that we want to. You know, typically you try to buy for a season, and what they do is they mix salt and sand together, so it's not just a straight salt mixture.
Yeah, but kind of before the salt shed, you could only buy.
You could only
kind
buy
of what
so
you
much.
use because it gets hard and
Yeah.
if it rains, it washes the salt down and sand starts getting frozen again. So you're kind of limited. I think now, this year, and the other thing is you are, you are limited to how much you have to put in a contract, how much salt you want. Because I heard there's a real shortage of salt this year.
Yeah.
Because the rivers were so high, the barges couldn't get under the bridges. So there's a real shortage of salt this year, and
we've had
I'm sure
that
we're paying a
issue,
premium,
we've had
too.
that issue a few times where it gets towards the end of the season and you get those storms like in April and you're like, it's sort of holding your breath, and so they'll start doing
I'm
more.
on 40.
Yeah, they'll start doing more of a mixture of salt or sand in there to be able to treat the roads for slipperiness, but it's sort of an average game to be able to try to guess how much you need during the season.
I mean, there's always, you know, start with, you know, in the past, you always had some left over that you protected, and then you kind of just mix a little extra in there to bring it back up to where it was beforehand. So, like I said, you are limited to the amount of salt you can get, and usually, I mean, they've got it down to pretty much a science. They know how much to buy, and then we'll probably see that bill again in January or February. And like I said, now it's salt shed that changes everything.
Yeah, so
Because we didn't have that before.
so maybe it'll last a little longer, hopefully.
I think it will. It looks pretty spiffy in there. It's about that time.
Yeah, it's something that was long needed.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so on page 5, this is the Carver County items. This is related to the work that we're paying them back for on 61 in Creek Road and 41. And I think, so reading this, the Highway 41 expansion, is that the work we're doing on Lyman? Is that my understanding, or is that for the 212, or it's not 212, the work
This
down-
would have been actually for the project that we did last summer.
Oh, for last summer. So-
Pioneer to Honor Mark.
Yep. Again, this would have been a retainer that we hold back on a project, because there's some things that they were just getting done this year.
Okay, so this is like.
Is
same-
all the landscaping done on that?
Now it is.
Oh, it is, okay.
So this is the same situation as the other one?
Yep.
Is that also for the Creek Road and 61 item?
Yeah, so this was a project that was done basically last year.
Curling Center.
Yep.
Kind of out in that area.
Yep, going from basically 41 all the way back to Creek Road and that bridge. The bridge got replaced over the creek too.
Okay, sounds good. Page 7, there's Code 4 Services. So no, they seem to be like a company that installs like equipment on police cars and stuff. But why, I didn't understand, why was it routers for Chaska parks? Because they seem to be focused on like law enforcement stuff.
Yeah, so these are security cameras.
Oh.
Because we've had some issues with vandalizing park shelters.
But these go into vehicles? Because this company seems to install like vehicular equipment on law enforcement vehicles. Code 4.
So you said this is on page
Page 7.
7.
Yeah.
No, I can find out for sure, but I think this has to do with our actual security systems for our park shelters that we install.
Okay, good.
I can find out for sure,
They might
but,
branch both ways.
yeah.
You know, you never know on that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I was looking at their website and didn't see anything about, it was just, yeah, it seemed to be very, like, a niche thing, but I don't know. Okay. Page 7, for Tiller Corporation. I understand we did drainage work in the north parking lot, but what was the interest, why is there interest charged, and how much was the interest?
It was I had an email that was sent to me on this. It was a small amount of that, but it was a bill that didn't get processed in the 30 days.
Oh, so it's basically somebody's past net 30
Yep.
or something, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it just happens. Page 21, Patch and Messenger appraisals. So was this one for this, the 61-212 interchange?
Yeah, it's actually more so for the road, County Road 44 road going down. It's specifically on, we're in a commissioner's hearing process with the Losick family
Yeah.
on the valuation of that property. So it is work related to that.
So this is work related to that specific property, that's on the, that's related to that for right-of-way acquisition?
Yeah, so we actually, so we have the right-of-way in our possession through a quick pay process, but the valuation is being determined through a commissioner's hearing process. And so we have to bring in our appraisers during that process to be able to validate what value that we generated for that.
Okay.
Before we leave that page, right next to it is public construction. It says regrading of alleys. Do we have him do our alleys? Or is it tied because he did water main dig Auburn Manor, water main dig Brickyard Road? I'm just trying to figure out why he'd be regrading alleys.
Well, we do still in the downtown have some gravel alleys.
But we don't do that anymore ourselves?
I'd have to check on that. I'll
I mean,
check.
the rest are water. I mean, I
Yeah.
got those. That one just caught my eye. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Okay. Page 25, I saw someone for SRF Consulting, and there's 2 items under that. I was wondering about it because we don't usually see SRF Consulting. Usually we use Stantec.
Yeah, SRF was as a interchange.
So this is, so, or is it, did we use them because they're especially around like highways?
Yeah,
Okay.
they deal more with the trunk highway system. Stantec typically deals more with the in-the-city type of projects.
Yeah, there was a bid project, or bid process that went into identifying SRF, so
Yeah.
I don't recall who was all part of that.
Yeah,
but SRF
It's not unusual, though, for SRF to be on a trunk highway project, because they're just specialized in doing that.
Yep. And then this is one that just caught my attention because it wasn't the usual, so,
Mm-hmm.
yep. And page 30, and so, guys, thank you for entertaining me here. This is my last one.
What?
For page 30, there's one for Great River Energy. What is a SCADA license?
SCADA.
SCADA?
So SCADA is our system that we use to control remotely all of our utility equipment. So it could be like our water treatment plant, it can be our electric system, being able to deal with it remotely. And I'm assuming that we must go in with Great River Energy on a licensing package together, but we do have to annually license that, because it's just like any other software product that we have to license. But it's basically, it's the remote control of our entire utility system.
This is like some cloud-based thing we use, or?
Yeah, it's, I
or
mean,
is
it sends a, you know, so if somebody's on call, but they're not at work, it'll send an alert if something happens in our water tower, or it'll send an alert if there's a transformer that goes out, so that we're notified prior to getting calls even that there's an issue that's developing.
So they can start working on it before we start getting real calls with it. Cool. Okay, cool, thank you.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Anyone else?
Is the city of Chaska a member of the Jonathan Association? Is that why we pay dues?
Yeah, so we have one property. It's our Clover condo
Oh, okay. I was
building.
like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so that building is in the Jonathan Association, and so we're a dues member for that one
Okay,
property.
just was curious.
Yeah.
All right.
So who reads the newsletter?
It's funny, that building, we get involved in all kinds of weird stuff out there, like contracts for cleaning windows, and it's, sometimes it's more work than it's worth.
Hey, on page 1, we had that second wind exercise. Is that just the equipment from the fitness center that we just got the bill out of now?
That's the stuff that's in the newer remodel.
Oh, that's
area.
right, we talked about that, yeah,
Yep.
all right, good.
Which continues to be really popular. That's, I've never seen that area used as much as it is now. And it was a relatively low-cost project, and it's really generated a lot of buzz.
But it
so.
used to be, that used to be kind of the fitness area a long time ago.
That was it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the only one.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
okay. All right, anyone else on bills? If not, I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember McGraw to pay the bills. Discussion? Hearing none. Nate?
Councilmember Hatfield,
Yes.
Councilmember Hubbard,
Yes.
Councilmember Wong.
Yes.
Councilmember Grau,
Yes.
Mayor Lucio.
Yes. Moves us on to other business. Councilmember Wong.
Let's see. Well, I can say that the Marnitas Table event was an amazing event. I wasn't unfortunately able to attend the whole thing. I think that was right after our last meeting. But from the time I was there, it was just like, it was really, really just incredible. It was like just the energy in the room, the people, like it was a full house from, the time I got there. So just amazing event. So kudos for, everyone who was there, and thank you for everyone who came to participate. Couple of items. Tuesday, December 17th, which is next week? Oh, tomorrow. Wait, it's tomorrow, sorry. Yes, tomorrow feels like next week, really, to me, in my world.
Don't round me any days.
So tomorrow from 5:30 to 7:30, there's a Arboretum Area Transportation Plan open house. That is, so anyone who lives along, it's along 82nd Street, would probably be interested in attending. They probably already know about it, but just putting that out there. And if, certainly anyone who in Victoria who might traverse that area, or Chanhassen might traverse that, may be interested, and anyone who lives along that corridor with a Highway 5 there will probably be interested. We are in a joint powers agreement as part of that project. So one thing to note is that if you're planning on attending the open house, you do not need to pay the Arboretum entrance fee, so make sure to mention at the gate that you're going to the open house for the Arboretum Transportation Plan, so that way you don't have to pay for the Arboretum's entrance fee. But it's this open house is for providing input on potential improvements for Highway 5, the Rolling Acres Road to Highway 41 and 82nd Street and to Bavaria Road. And then on Thursday, there's another one from 5 to 7 at the Chaska Community Center. This is the Highway 10 corridor study from Victoria to Chaska, and this covers from the county road from effectively Engler to Laketown Township, just west of County Road 43 to Chaska Boulevard before Chanhassen. So this one's a similar one. Their look is much earlier in this this cycle. So they're really trying to get input from residents and businesses in terms of what are the things you'd like to see in terms of, things where traffic are issues, or where there's congestion, or where there's, problems crossing the roadways, things like that.
I was one of 2 people who attended the first one.
Wow. Well, hopefully.
How do you
I'll have
feel
more.
about that?
Was that the one, the last one they had at the community
Yeah,
center?
up at, it was supposed to be at the Presbyterian Church, we had it at the community center.
Oh, because I know Connie was there, and they really just had 3 options about, like at White Oak, there was a stop sign, a roundabout, or a stoplight. And that's kind of what was
Who
the,
was there? Because it was just me and one other lady was
I
there.
think there's been a couple.
There was a separate one for the White Oak neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one's just a general one for anyone along that corridor, so, but hopefully we'll see a better turnout than 2 people, so.
well, probably not gonna be a lot of people there tomorrow night, because I'm the guest bartender at Shram's, and there's way more people at that event than
That sounds a lot
any
more
open
fun.
house.
Well, we should have that open house at Shram then.
Bring her up.
Generous quarters? No.
Let's have some beer and talk about like road construction,
How we
right?
can improve the road.
And let's see, last item before wishing everyone happy holidays and New Year is that that I had someone mention to me that they saw in the entrance to City Hall that when they were leaving City Hall, they saw like someone's toddler was like playing in the doorway and was like picking up and playing with some pieces of rust down there. And I was like, oh, not good. So I was wondering that, you know, when we have like a timeline on, you know.
We can find out. I do know that we have the contractor that's already been out on that, but.
Oh, we got a hold of him?
You know him.
I know.
Sometimes he takes a little while. But we can find out.
Yeah, or, you know, if there's some kind of temporary thing to kind of mitigate that, because I don't know if some pieces are falling off or stuff. It's, yeah, kind of a little worrisome. Especially if there's a lot of children going in and out for the library too, especially. So other than that, I just wish everyone happy holidays and safe and New Year, and drive safe out there, everyone, and all the snow and all the weather we have.
Supposed to warm up, supposed to be nice.
Tropical.
Warm up.
Councilmember Hubbard,
Oh, okay.
messing with you.
No doubt. I was expecting you to go the other way. He covered the transportation things this week, but I did have the pleasure of helping with the Heroes and Helpers, which I had touched on earlier in the meeting, and it was just an amazing event. You know, it was fun. I had helped shop. I knew too well where things were in the Target aisles, the toy aisles of Target, which prompted one of the Target workers to ask me if I would like to apply for a job there. But just helping wrap and just talking with some of the kids and just their excitement to be able to gift their siblings or their mom just really puts a lot of things in perspective. And again, thank you to Chaska Police Department, the Police Explorers were there, Auto Pros, gentleman was there, Gary. Rotary helped donate a lot of funds. It sounds like they did a golf fundraiser, so that was huge in order to kind of help put this whole thing on. So just a lot at Target.
Greg Coomer at Rotary was really the person who sort of led that up, and I think he generated like $4,500 or something like that.
Yeah, she said like $4,100, and Julie had personally gotten a grant for $1,000 for it. The really neat thing is, you know, they have obviously like a price cap. They try to kind of, you know, get the kids to kind of stay within that per person. And then they ring it through the register, and then whatever is left over, they split up amongst the families. I shouldn't probably say anything more because the families don't know anything about it yet. But I don't want to give anything away. But anyways, but they do now for the 1.2 million or people listening. But just a really cool opportunity. Definitely put it on my calendar for next year. So anyways, just a huge thank you for that. And otherwise, just happy holidays and have a wonderful new year.
Ms. Hatfield.
I want to echo on Marnita's table that it was amazing. I encourage everyone to go to the second one. I have like extreme social anxiety. That's why I try not to go anywhere alone. But I did go there, by myself. We were all together. But it was like really cool to just sit down with people I'd never met and like talk about things and everything. And the energy in the room, I think you mentioned, was like crazy. Like it was, you just like felt excited in there. It was kind of like a weird thing. I didn't expect to go there and like just feel so happy. I don't know, it's weird, but it was so cool. So I really encourage everyone to go to it the next time.
And that is February 17th?
18th.
18th, okay.
It's a Tuesday night this time.
Yeah.
And that is from, is it?
6 to 9.
6 to 9.
No.
It was really cool. So definitely go. Even if you don't have someone to go with, I'll go with you because it was really cool. And then I just want to MLK breakfast, put it on your calendars. I was really excited to hear about who our speaker would be because I randomly had read her book, Dr. I hate to say things wrong, Josie Johnson, right?
Josie Johnson.
I had read her book from a different situation, and she's just really incredible, and she's going to be the speaker there. So get that on your calendar for the 20th of January. I'm just so excited. So, and then I was going to mention that our mayor will be bartending tomorrow night at Shram, but he stole that. So, but go have a beer, support local beer, and get it from Mayor Mark.
I'll do my best.
I think that's all I had.
Not too much foam on top.
Being an unruly customer.
Depends what kind you ask for. That's it?
Yep, that's all I have.
Councilmember Grau.
Just got a couple echo things. I'm a little fuzzy. Like I said, used to talk about warming up, and I left 80-degree weather in Florida less than 24 hours ago. So, yeah, but PSA was great. Great food, great people, great experience. So, I think having the conversation while we're there, like, we might have to find a bigger place is a really good problem to have. I don't know if we're going to figure that out, but I mean, it was packed in there. I don't know if we have a bigger place, but it was packed in there. It was great. People chairs, people standing, people moving. In some aspects, not having enough chairs actually worked well because people were forced to kind of mingle and move too, which was deliberate, I know. Second thing I'd just say, we talked about happy holidays and everything like that, and I love that you shared the event with the shopping for the families, everything. I would just encourage people to celebrate the holidays, but also think about those who have less to celebrate and give back and encourage that. And just talk to people and understand, what their needs are and desires are and kind of giving back. I think we get the stress and the time and the family and all that kind of goes through, and we kind of forget about the blessings that we have and sometimes the blessings that others do not. So I just encourage that. That's all I had.
Okay. Matt?
Just happy holidays, and then just a reminder, take a look at the meeting schedule, because it gets pretty messed up in January and February.
I'm gonna just talk about that.
I had a question on that. Can I ask that right now? I don't understand January 6th. What are we doing? So there's not like a technical meeting that night because we're doing.
Yeah, so basically what we're going to do is we've traditionally done interviews for commission members before the meeting. It's really tough for the people to get here for the interviews. A lot of times they're coming from different places. We don't have a lot on the agenda that night. So my thought was, let's deal with our, it's beginning of the year business, get that done, and then do interviews when it's more convenient for people.
Because you say interviews at 7.
Well,
Or just after 7.
Just after 7, yeah, so,
So basically, we do the meeting and then do the interviews.
yeah, yep.
We're not stopping the meeting, we're gonna finish the meeting and then,
Yeah, I mean, unless for some reason there's some big thing that pops up in the agenda that I don't anticipate, the meeting is very short.
because whenever the meetings are short, they take forever.
Yeah, but now you're gonna have a line of people waiting
Okay.
for you.
Okay, so work session, there's still a work session, then a short teeny tiny meeting, and then interviews.
And interviews.
There is a work session.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
said.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I was just clarifying.
Yep.
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
One more item on the 6th. We do have lined up to get the official council photo.
Oh, yeah.
Taken care of that night.
A year later.
A year
What?
later, yeah. So make sure you wear whatever it is you feel you need to wear for the official council photo. But we'll do that right between the work session.
Whatever you want.
Flip-flops and a tank top.
Well, we won't see
Look
below
at,
here, right? So.
Look at any of the photos hanging on the wall, I guess, if you're looking for
Depends
inspiration.
if you want that individual
I
standing.
think you would,
Not.
I think you'd be wise to pay attention to maybe some of the clothes that people chose to wear and how it maybe dated them in the pictures, so
Are you giving me clothing?
thinking
advice?
about what
This
might
is
not date you
harassing.
in the future.
I was hoping Bob would still be here for that. This is his glasses.
I was gonna say, his
I
glasses
was gonna wear my
definitely date him in that
collar.
picture.
For sure.
Which reminds me of the commission schedule. I would just throw that shout out there. Maybe you were going to cover that.
I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah, so go for it. You take it.
So, so after, obviously, this is the last meeting in this decade. So we're gonna start out 2020
I don't like it.
with a January 6th meeting. No meeting on the 20th, that's Martin Luther King Day. So then we move to the January 27th, and then we have our meeting. So it's the first and fourth of the month. And by the way, there is a fifth Tuesday in December, but we are not having a meeting.
Fifth Monday?
Yes, so.
Great.
And then we go into February, and we do, the first one is correct. The third one, again, is President's Day, so then we move it out to the fourth. So it's the first and fourth the next 2 months. Questions? Okay. All right, what else, Matt?
You didn't cover what I thought. I cover, so I'm gonna.
What did you want me to cover?
I was gonna encourage people to apply for the commissions.
That's on my list later.
Oh, okay.
This was meeting schedule. You
Oh,
didn't
all
talk
right.
about what's happening.
All right, well, I'll say that.
Go ahead.
All right,
Go
well,
ahead.
I got nothing else.
Steal my thunder.
I'll steal your thunder, because I think it's important.
You probably won't say
I've
it
seen
right
the post, I've
anyways. I'll
tried to
have to clean it
retweet it,
up.
I've tried to share it. I think it's just important. It's a great way to get involved, to serving the community, getting your feet wet and understanding what's happening and it's not a lot of pressure, right? I can speak from behalf of being on the park board. We have a good time. It's formal when it needs to be. It can be informal when it doesn't need to be. It was a great opportunity. And I think, many of us up here have had that experience recently and in the past. And encourage anyone to get involved. I think it's just a great opportunity to take some passion that you may have and to serve the community and learn from other community members as well. Now fill anything that I forgot to say.
I'll fill it in later. Clean it up like I always do. Warranty work. Luke, anything?
Just one thing, you see the gentleman sitting over there by Noel, his name is Ron Blum. He's been with the law firm for about 4 months now. I don't know if you've met him, he's worked with Matt here, and I think, and he's going to be doing municipal work, and there's, some of us in the firm are getting pretty old, we'll probably not be around too much longer.
Okay, well, welcome.
Are you trying to tell us something, Luke?
He's not going.
He's talking about other people, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's talking about the real work, not this work. He's not giving this one.
Well, Ron comes from the Minneapolis Attorney's Department. He was mainly in criminal law and doing prosecution, but he has knowledge in data practices and things like that. Going to start acquiring everything he needs to know about representing municipalities.
Good. Welcome.
I was wondering who was sitting over there, but now I got that answer too.
That's what Luke looked at like back in 1968.
All right, thanks for that, Luke. Nate, anything?
No, I don't have anything else.
What?
Well, I was gonna talk about MLK, but Councilmember Hatfield's over that.
I'm like psyched about the speaker, I'm
photo
sorry.
night, so
Did I hear that the speaker is she local?
She's from Minnesota.
she's from Minnesota.
She's not.
I think she's
okay.
a U of M professor, isn't she?
I know she's affiliated with the U
She's
of
done a
M.
lot of cool things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a civil rights activist, marched with Dr. Martin Luther King, and she's got a lot of stories to share, so we'll see which one she picks on the 20th, I guess, but yeah.
Okay.
Looking forward to having her here.
All right, before I forget, we do have a short Economic Development Authority meeting following here. Pretty much doing the same thing, approving the budget for the EDA.
We
So
better take a cookie break for it.
it should be a very short meeting. So a couple things that I have. I did check with Denise today, and we have very few applications at this point. So I please encourage people. We have, I believe, openings. There may be some, we generally, if someone's been on a commission and they've done a good job, they get reappointed. But there are openings all across the boards, but there are places that people are reapplying as well. And then there's some that they haven't reapplied. So we don't know at this point, but applications are due next Friday. So we really only have a week left to get those applications in, so.
And I'd really highly encourage you to reach out to people you know, because some of the best candidates don't even think about it until somebody asks them.
Right. So think about that, but we got just barely a week left on apps, and I think she had one new one and a couple of the people that were already on that can still, I know that we have 2 in the parks that have hit their 9-year cap, thank you. So for anybody, you can serve 9 consecutive years, then you have to leave. You can't, your term limits are up. But there are people that have left for a year and then
come right
reapplied and they can come back, so. But there's always, I mean, we always encourage, it's always nice to get new ideas, new thoughts, so anybody is welcome, and we really strongly encourage people to do that, so. The other thing I really want to talk about is we really have an end of an era in Chaska that's been going on for a lot of years, is that starting next week, we will no longer have a barber shop in Chaska anymore. Glenn, the owner of the barber shop right in our plaza here, is retiring. He's sold his building. At this point, he is not able to share who he sold it to. There's some ideas, but, so he hasn't, but he started barbering here. He's been here for 44 years. So he spent 12 years. So if you envision that old block, there used to be where it is now, there was a gas station on the corner, Charlie's Barber Shop, and the Green Lantern. And then it's Chestnut Realty was built. So he bought the property of the Green Lantern, so he built that building with, it's angled to really follow the plaza. But he showed me pictures of it. I mean, it was barely a foot apart from the other building. And then they had to tear the other building down after they got that one built. So, so he's been, like I said, he's 12 years in the old shop and 32 years in this shop. So it's just hard to think about, but there's just nobody in the industry of barbering anymore. He wanted to sell it to a barber shop to try to keep it, but no one had an interest. So I guess barbers are to the wayside. Now you're stylists. So I just want to say congratulations to Glenn, as he is retired after 46 years. And like I said, he's our neighbor here and been there for a long time. So congratulations to him on that. So. Other than that, like I said, we got the meeting. I'm just going to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year to everyone. New decade, 2020. 10 years I've been here. 1 decade. That's crazy. Crazy. But a lot of interesting things have happened over the past 10 years. And I think 2020 is going to be exciting. I think that there's going to be a lot of, with the Southwest Chaska expansion, and we have some other areas that look like could be expanding. I think that you're going to see, in the next 5 years, I think it's going to be crazy busy around here. So it'll be lots of fun, lots of new and interesting things happening. So looking forward to 2020.
Those are the fun times.
Those are the fun times, yes, exactly.
We don't need 2008 again.
All right, with that, unless there's, I'll do a last call. Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn and move into the EDA meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong. Second by Councilmember Hubbard to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. We are adjourned. How long, Michael?